and welcome. I am Amarachi Ubani. Tonight, Kaduna Refinery achieves 60% product refining. Management says it's expecting more spare parts before full capacity can be realized. Regional security comes under focus again as President Muhammadu Buhari, his Ghanaian counterpart John Mahama hold talks in Accra. And taking a look at the activities of the National Assembly and the executive arm in the last 100 days. Also, Pope Francis orders Catholic churches in Europe to provide shelter for migrants from Budapest in Hungary. We begin tonight with efforts by the Nigerian Navy to discover and destroy some illegal refineries within the Niger Delta region. One of such illegal sites is in Minima community in the Buguma axis of Rivers State. Parading the suspects, the commander, Nigerian Navy ship Pathfinder, Commodore Shua Mohammed, said the activities of these oil thieves pose grave danger to the economy and future generations. Our correspondent, Emmanuel Irei, reports.
This is Augusta 109 Naval helicopter. We are preparing to go on an air surveillance around some creeks in the Niger Delta suspected to harbor illegal refineries. The commanding officer, NNS Pathfinder, tells Channels Television that the activities of oil thieves in the Niger Delta pose huge risk to the country.
We're here this morning to embark on an air patrol to where we're fighting the crude oil thieves, for you to appreciate the enormous challenges we have in our hand and the efforts we are doing to curtail this crude oil theft. You see for yourself and then show to the world what the damage of crude oil theft is doing to the Niger Delta and our future generation.
The air patrol reveals a wide area ravaged by crude oil pollution, many pockets of illegal refineries and suspected oil thieves with their boats and drums. Some tried to flee as the helicopter hovered around them. That done, naval officers and our crew getting ready at NNS Pathfinder in Port Harcourt, Rivers State to move into the creeks. The mission is to clamp down on oil thieves operating in one of the uncovered illegal refineries. This is an illegal refinery in Minima community behind Buguma village in River State. As you can see to my far left are suspected operators of the site. And in continuation of the Nigerian Navy's fight against crude oil theft, the men are here to destroy this setup. Some of the suspects are arrested.
This destruction is in line with the Chief of the Naval Staff, Vice Admiral I.E. Ibas' resolve to put an end to the operations of illegal refineries and crude oil thieves in our waters. As a result, units in Port Harcourt area have been directed to intensify efforts towards the eradication of the activities of crude oil thieves.
The naval men take charge of the site and then set it on fire. Back to the jetty, the Navy parades suspected oil thieves arrested during the operation.
We are doing illegal bunkering when the naval people came this morning. So I went to see them what is the problem. So we were arrested and they destroyed the camp. So I now called my boss to tell him the current situation. It is there 2 boys came and met us that they were sent by our director, the sister of our director, to come and see what is the problem. If it is to sort out, they will sort out the problem.
Ending crude oil theft, according to the Nigerian Navy, is a huge task that must be accomplished. For them, destroying illegal refineries may not just be enough, but taking the battle to their suspected owners is also on the agenda. Emmanuel Irei, Channels Television News.
And one of the country's major refineries located in Kaduna has been producing 60% capacity following repairs carried out recently. The managing director of the Kaduna Refinery and Petrochemical Company, Saidu Mohammed, says faulty compressors have been replaced, and as soon as all needed spare parts arrive, the Kaduna Refinery will begin full operation. Our correspondent, Olu Phillips, reports.
When news began to indicate strongly that the nation's refineries are working yet again, it brought along some reprieve, judging by the petroleum product scarcity at the time. Just to be sure that that was not a quick fix measure, Channels Television is on a fact-finding mission to the refineries. Kaduna is first on our list. Approaching the refinery, the first signal I was looking out for to suggest production is ongoing is any sign of gas flare. And looking keenly, we spotted that. Good news is that the Kaduna refinery is working, but I asked the helmsman if production is optimal.
We have carried out overhaul of all major compressors in the plant that you have seen. Others are awaiting equipment, spare parts to come. But then all in order to improve the reliability. Today we can confidently run 60%, which we are doing today, as you have seen in the plant. But then we have to improve the reliability of these plants.
At 60% production, the plant is producing about 1.6 million liters of PMS daily, just as trucks were spotted lifting petroleum products for onward distribution.
Sure, yes, you got that working.
It's not all rosy. Kaduna Refinery is a 3-in-1 plant operation. It has the fuels plant, which refines Nigerian crude, the loops plant, which refines imported crude, and the petrochemical company, a 30,000 metric tons linear alkaline benzene plant. The petrochemical plant is undergoing maintenance, and one of the equipment's spare parts required took as much as 18 months to produce. Also, following incessant vandalism of the crude line from Escravos to Warri, the loops plant, with a capacity of 50,000 barrels per stream day, is also down. By implications, the value chain of PMS, loops oil, wax, bitumen are all knocked out.
That sound is an indication that crude is being processed, and that will produce for you PMS, diesel, and kerosene. Sadly again, to my right, just opposite this area, and what you have here is a capacity that can produce aviation fuel. But I'm told that the last time this worked was in the 80s. In other words, we have a unit like this that can produce aviation fuel. We have no business importing aviation fuel if this unit can be resuscitated, and we hope that that can happen as soon as possible.
Responding to this, Mr. Saidu says a work plan is in progress that will upscale output to 90% by 2016.
We have given ourselves 4 phases of the term and rehab. So far, we have concluded the first 2 phases. We are about to embark into the 3rd one. Very soon, once we shut down again, we will use that window to carry out phase 3 of the rehab. And gradually that will give us back to the state we want. By the 2nd quarter of 2016, we should be able to have this plant reliably operating at 80 to 90% minimum. And that is what it has been designed for.
30 million liters, 40 million liters, whichever of these figures represents the true daily consumption of PMS. The 5 million liters at full stream capacity from Kaduna Refinery, plus the contributions from the other 2 refineries, may not meet local consumption demand, but it definitely reduces the quantity to be imported, thereby freeing foreign exchange and reducing the complexities around subsidy payment. Olu Phillips, Channels Television News.
We have him here in the studio with us, Olu Phillips, our energy correspondent. You were at the Kaduna Refinery. 60% of installed capacity is what it is currently producing, but it could produce more, right?
Absolutely, yes. Well, you need to understand that that plant is about 35 years old, and it's important for us to debunk the minds of a lot of people who think refineries like that of Nigeria has outstayed its lifespan. Refineries are built in such a way that it can last for over 100 years if you do your routine maintenance. Turnaround maintenance, for instance, should happen every 2 years. When they built it in 1980, it started. In 1982, there was time. In 1984, there was time. In 1986, there was time. So there's this 2 years right interval. But from 1988, I beg your pardon, we started having problems with maintenance. I think the next time it came was 6 years. And so it's just like your engine car. You refuse to service it after certain kilometers of run, you have issues with it. So it began to decline. And that's where we are today. After that 6 years interval, we had another 7 to 8 years interval before the refineries got back on stream. Right now, what we have is that the maintenance that you're seeing started second to third quarter of last year. So if you don't do what you need to do at the time you need to do it, you will suffer some of these lapses and you will have a lot of downtime.
And if, well, this turnaround maintenance you're talking about, if that's taking place right now, according to the managing director of the Kaduna Refinery, who says that as soon as they receive spare parts, could the Kaduna Refinery be up and running? How long do you think that will take before it is up and running and producing at full capacity?
When I saw some of this equipment, I was told about the Japanese company that built that refinery, and that they were brought in sometime 2 years ago to look at the refinery and see if they can bring it back to state. And the problem we had with that is that the monies they wanted to be paid for that refinery became so high. So when you talk about equipment maintenance, you need to understand there are issues around propriety, meaning that you cannot source for some of these materials anywhere. It's like the power plant that you have. It's like shopping for military equipment. When you make orders, some of them take as much as 18 months, I beg your pardon, or 12 months to build. And when they build it, within that time, you have to wait. You don't pick them on the shop floor anywhere in the world. So you make proper planning and make sure that you get this thing. So from the work plan, 2 of the quarters have gone in the work plan arrangement for Kaduna Refinery. They have 2 more quarters to go. So technically, sometime next year in 2016, that refinery, if they follow the work plan with the materials that are coming in, will be available up to 90%, and we'll be having like 5 million liters of PMS as against 1.6 million that we're doing today.
So a long wait we have ahead of us.
But that's the right thing to do.
Thanks, Olu Phillips, for joining us on the News at 10. Our correspondent, Olu Phillips, who was at the Kaduna Refinery, bringing us that report. When in part 2, after the break, as assessments of 100 days of President Muhammadu Buhari and his relationship with the National Assembly. That's coming up in a moment. Please stay with us.